Joining me right now, Professor Charlie Rose from Stetson University College of Law. A lot of military experience, actually a military prosecutor. Thank you for joining us. You got to be shaking your head about this whole affair, right?
Shaking my head, not to so much in disbelief, but as in, here's this story that I've heard before.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got the latest players is Jill Kelly, who served as kind of the unofficial liaison, unpaid volunteer for MacDill Air Force Base, and now supposedly sending between 20 and 25,000 emails to General Allen.
Yeah, General Allen, who I believe is the current commander in Afghanistan, who happened to have been the deputy commander here in Tampa before he went to Afghanistan.
Where do you think that's going to end, or is that kind of like this new piece of information that takes this whole story to a whole nother level?
Well, we don't know yet, but what's very interesting is when you have concurrent events like this, each investigation is like dropping a rock in the pond and the ripples spread outward. And it may very well be that when the ripples spread outward from the Allen investigation, we learn something about General Petraeus or General Petraeus' situation that we don't know right now.
Okay, let's take this one step at a time. Did the general break any laws by having an affair?
Now we're talking about General Petraeus, right?
General Petraeus, yes.
He didn't break any federal law. If the affair began while he was still on active duty, he did break the article in the Uniform Code of Military Justice concerning adultery. The only evidence that we have of when the affair started right now, I believe, comes from the general's own spokesperson, former spokesperson.
Right.
If in fact the affair began while he was on active duty, he could theoretically be charged under the UCMJ. I doubt seriously that it will ever happen.
By law, was he required to resign or not?
No, he wasn't required to resign. He did a very smart thing, though. He could have gotten in more trouble for lying about the affair than actually committing the affair. Because when I have a senior person who engages in a sexual impropriety and then lies about the impropriety, they always get in more trouble for the cover-up than they do for the initial misconduct.
Now, if he had told Paula Broadwell any classified information, would that change where we are today? Well,
it would depend upon Ms. Broadwell's status when she was told it, because she was a reserve military intelligence officer. I don't know if she's still in the reserves or not. And it would also depend upon the level of access she had to classified information at that time, whether or not she'd been given access as a result of what she was doing, and then finally the timeline, because information, think of it as being radioactive. It decays over time.
Oh, okay.
It can be phenomenally classified initially, but over time it becomes less classified. And that has a lot more to do with the source of the information than the information itself.
What happens if that kind of information would have gotten into the wrong hands, whoever the wrong hands might have been?
Well, it would be hard to imagine that happening, but the problem with the loss of classified information is always that it compromises the security, either at the local, the theater, or the national level.
Broadwell spoke at a commencement on October the 26th, and apparently at that commencement she talked about maybe the CIA was holding 3 people for questioning when this attack occurred. The CIA quickly says, oh no, that wasn't the case. But where would she have gotten that information, and why would she just bring that up out of the clear blue sky?
God only knows where she got the information, but I'll tell you what an old general that I used to work for used to tell me. He'd say, Charlie, never attribute to malice what can be explained through stupidity. So we don't know where she got it, or even if it is valid, but we know that she got something out of saying it at that particular setting. Of course, you can't trust the CIA. If it is true, they'll say it's not true, because from a national security perspective, that makes the most sense.
You know, some people want to know, is there a cover-up here, or is this a case of the Keystone Cops? I've heard somebody else use that phrase.
I think you can very often have both, and the Keystone Cop analogy often hides something further. We don't have evidence of it right now, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist at this point.
Do you think there was some particular reason that this information wasn't made public until after the election?
Looking at everything that is available to those of us in the general world right now, it seems that the FBI followed their appropriate procedures throughout the process. What's really interesting is that there was some indication that members of the Republican establishment in D.C. had some knowledge of this, and they chose not to bring it forward either, which seems to indicate to me that it was processed properly.
Right, and that would have been Eric Cantor, who was the majority leader, who said he first heard about it on October the 27th. So I asked this question once, and I don't know how to rephrase this. Somebody is looking for a smoking gun somewhere in this kind of thing, especially when you've got the whole Benghazi investigation. We know that Petraeus went to Libya, that he did his own internal investigation, and now people are saying, well, is he going to testify now, and will that testimony be tainted because of what happened to him?
He'll testify because he can be subpoenaed just like any other citizen of the United States. Whether or not his testimony is tainted goes to his credibility. You can make an argument that because he was honest about the affair when it was discovered, he's actually more credible because he doesn't have anything to hide. I think at the end of the day, you're not going to find a smoking gun, but you might find a smoking cigarette or two.
Oh, gosh. Now, and lastly, the FBI went to Broadwell's house and confiscated reams and reams of something. I don't know whether those were emails. What are they going to be looking for?
They're going to be looking for communication with Miss Kelly, for communications with General Allen, for communications with any other person within the command structure in Afghanistan or right here at Tampa from Central Command. If I was a lawyer, I'd much rather be representing General Petraeus than Miss Broadwell right now.
Oh, boy. And the last question is, how long before we really find out what happened? Is this going to stretch on for months and months and months?
I would put to you that we will never find out what happened. We will find out what we are allowed to know based upon the classifications.
And you will come back and tell us what we're allowed to know, right?
Why not?
Charlie, thank you so much. Always good talking to you.
Good talking to you.